So before the Portugal versus Morocco game, every ESPN pundit said that Morocco had no chance. So today we are going to react to their prediction, and we're also going to react what they said after the game.
How do you see it going, Ali?
Well, Morocco's not going to change the way that they play. The difference is that they're going to play against a Portugal team that has a better attacking core group than what Spain has. And do have now a focal point in the attack, and Gonzalo Ramos, who is also a physical presence, who won't just float around. He will be there available for service. The movement of the ball and the pace with which Portugal is playing is quicker than what Spain showed in this tournament. And so therefore, I still think Portugal rightfully will be the favorites going into this match. And I just don't know that Morocco continues to play this way. It's defensively, they were so solid, and you have to continue to be this way, and you have to continue to move together. And I'm sure that the fans will be with them. But in terms of quality in the attacking half, Portugal is better than what Morocco can offer.
To be fair, Ellis' tone was not as bad as other pundits. He said Portugal is favorite, which is understandable because on paper, Portugal was favored. But he also said Ramos will be the difference maker, which didn't age well. Because we have seen Ramos was invisible against Morocco.
Yeah, but 120 minutes, injuries, no doubt, to some of the Moroccan players. And we've mentioned Saiss, Gilles mentioned Amrabat and what he went through just to get on the field. They'll have to double that up to get back out. They won't capitulate like Switzerland, not for a minute, and their record will tell you that. I've got to change my mind. I mean, I think there'll be a difficult nut to crack, but I think Portugal will do it.
So if Craig would say Portugal might win it or might do it, I would not disagree with him. But when he said Portugal will do it, that makes totally different meaning. And in hindsight, it's easy to say he was wrong.
Morocco's going to face in this game is the fact that you've gone on a high, right? You beat Spain. And the celebrations in Morocco, and the celebrations everywhere, and the celebrations around the team, and you've gone on this high. And physically, and emotionally, you spent yourself. Now you're going to have to go on a high to then come back down to earth and then be able to rev it up again in the game against Portugal. Whereas Portugal, basically, in the second half, had a training session, much like Brazil did against South Korea. Those things end up adding up towards the end of the competition, and that's where I think Portugal will be stronger than Morocco.
Did Ellis say that Morocco went high, now they'll be back to earth against Portugal? I mean, if that's the case, he's wrong again.
I would love to, but I agree with the boys, and I think fitness is an issue here. We mentioned already Saiss Aguerd, who's been amazing in this competition, came off because of an injury as well, and we saw him in the mix zone after, and he didn't look too confident. Saiss, we mentioned Amrabat. Hakimi is not 100%. Buffal can only last an hour because he's not fully fit either. You've got Ziyech, who after 75 minutes could not run anymore. And I do think that the 120 minutes tonight might just be too much for when this quarterfinal comes against Portugal, which would be a shame. But this is a team that is very physical and that based a lot of their strength on that physicality and on this effort that they do together. And if you're only 50% or if half your team is only 70%, they're going to struggle to play again at this level, and they would have to do exactly the same thing as they did today against Portugal. And I'm worried that this time the step is too high for them.
But then to discuss Jules' point, one thing that we have learned is that never write off any team. You can say they would not be 50%, 100%, you can say whatever number, but Morocco has shown that they were 100% against Portugal, they were 100% against Spain.
To that point, Jules, I think Morocco are playing with house money at this point. Just understanding the feeling regionally about Morocco and that win against Spain, what it means for not just them. For Morocco to go out against Portugal will not be seen as a failure. I think the success against Spain trumps that by some way. It's difficult to make an argument for Morocco to get the better of Portugal. The one complaint, or the big complaint we had about Spain, is the lack of the plan B, the lack of somebody creative in the midfield, which Portugal have in Bruno Fernandes. So unless Fernando Santos decides to play Bruno Fernandes deeper than his centre halves in the way that Luis Enrique decided to do with Pedri and Gavi, I just don't see how, as selfish as Morocco has been all tournament, I don't see how they keep Portugal out. And sadly, this run for Morocco comes to an end here. I say sadly, but I don't think with any disgrace at all.
As sadly, Morocco's campaign is, I think, out of all of them, Shaka was the most wrong. The way he was talking about Morocco as if they have absolutely no chance. He's talking sadly, their campaign is over. Let's call it win for them. They have no chance against Portugal.
Think, Luis, the end of the road for Morocco against Portugal?
Yeah, probably we can see another setback, another surprise, but I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, they've done an amazing job. They make history, and that's something that you're going to take for them from this World Cup. Playing against this Portugal side with all these plans that we were talking, players who can be players. So that's the plan B we were talking about, that Spain didn't have players who can change that you are playing. If the tiki-taka inside is not working with João Felix, with Bernardo Silva, with players Fernandes. If that's not working, you can start crossing with Sin Guerrero today, just putting fantastic wipes into the box, and you have Andres Silva, Cristiano Ronaldo players arriving in second line, plus set pieces that, as we've seen today, they are very important and they are very good this Portugal side. So yeah, I think Portugal to go through.
Again, another pundit was wrong. So now let's listen to what they said after the game. I think that should be pretty interesting.
And maybe they thought it was just a light switch again. We'll go back out, we'll create the chances. They didn't have that zest, that pacey passing, the movement. They just couldn't do it. And maybe it's Morocco, are super hard to play against, much more difficult than Switzerland. But they just did not replicate everything that was good from the Switzerland game into this game. They could not.
So they could not replicate what they did against Switzerland. There are multiple reasons. First of all, yeah, their game plan from Santos was wrong. But also, you have to credit Morocco. They had better game plan than Portugal.
So just individuals again.
Yeah, but I would say that in the context of comparison or comparing what Spain was against Morocco, I looked at Portugal, and while I understand that the passing could have been quicker and that the movement could have been quicker and that that sort of spice that we want from their game and that we have seen from their game would show up, I actually thought that they were more effective than Spain was. Spain looked like they were never going to score.
Definitely more effective,
Yeah.
but not effective enough.
Yes.
But more than Spain, yeah.
And Spain never looked like they were ever going to score. Portugal had chances.
No, Ramos had the chance, Pepe obviously at the end.
Well, they had chances. And I think that's where your point is valid and it's well taken. The fact that when they got desperate, when it became about problem solving on the field, that it wasn't as easy as it had been against Switzerland, yes, they became individuals and they became sort of this team that fragmented in the attack. So rather than having those quick combinations, now you're getting desperate. You're just lumping balls in, or you're just trying to squeeze balls in spaces that are not quite there, or you're trying to dribble players that dribble into positions in which now you draw yourself out of spaces. And Portugal just wasn't able to figure out how to break down Morocco. And to that, we have to give credit to Morocco themselves.
I mean, the goal, just briefly.
Exactly, Morocco deserves more credit. Also, regarding Portugal tactics, the main difference for me was the lineup selection. When into the lineup against Switzerland, they had William Carvalho. In my opinion, he was the best player at midfield on that day. And you did not even pick him up for this match. The player who was the best midfielder. Also, I agree a little bit with LA pointing out that Portugal was better than Spain against Morocco because at least Portugal had a couple of good chances. Although first half was similar to Spain, just possession based, second half they were more direct and creating a couple of good chances. But at the end of the day, it's all the little details that makes the difference. For example, the goal that Morocco scored. I felt Portugal goalkeeper could do better. And when you concede a goal in a so important game, it's very difficult to change the game.
I want to give credit to Morocco because, as Craig mentioned, without Mazraoui, without Aguerd at the back, being fatigued, those two guys in midfield, I mean, Amrabat and Ouani, unbelievable. The quality and quantity combined. When they had to defend, they defended. When they had to cue the break, they cued the break. Honestly, I think this is a game that Morocco won, that Morocco deserved to win, as much as Portugal lost.
As a collective.
So this is why I like Gab. He's pretty fair to both teams, and he's very almost neutral, I say. And thanks to him, he's at least giving credit to Morocco and their hard work. And we can say that Morocco deserved a win.
I have to say I was a little bit disappointed by Portugal. What I saw against Switzerland, it's exactly what we want to see from Portugal. We didn't see it again. And that's sad because they have all the talents for that. But there is a certain way to play. And the first 30 minutes with the tiki-taka kind of boring stuff, I say, what's going on? Why are they going back to that, where they showed against Switzerland that they can be more effective playing more vertical? And we didn't find that today.
Well, that's because Morocco is a different team. It's not Switzerland. Simple.
The other thing that I would say about Morocco, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense about Morocco. Because when you talk about the preparation for a World Cup, it is not ideal preparation that you change managers with 3 months to go. Because if indeed you're going to be conservative, if indeed you're going to be about being organized defensively, well, you need to work together to do this. Doesn't make sense that they're able to do what they are doing so far. It doesn't make sense as to how Amrabat all of a sudden is a world-class player. This is a mid-table sort of guy, all right, that is playing like a great elite player. Where is this coming from? I have no idea, but Amrabat has been outstanding.
I think Gab was Gab.
Amrabat is a great player, in my opinion. And saying he's a mid-table type of a player, I think that's kind of insulting. And it's not professional. Yeah, there are a lot of great players who plays for mid-table team. But doesn't mean you have to tell, oh, they're a mid-table player. That's insulting, in my opinion. So anyway, I also would like to address the title of my last video, that Portugal will win the World Cup. Just to let you know, if you watched the video, never I said in that video that Portugal will win the World Cup. That title is just for clickbait. And also, it is just another segment where all the experts' predictions went so wrong, as they do often. One thing we have learned from last year Real Madrid's Champions League campaign is that never underestimate any team.